So in the last video, I introduced the trolley problem. Just to remind you, the trolley problem is this. Why is it morally permissible for the trolley driver to throw the switch the tracks, but morally impermissible for the super surgeon to make the switch the organs? And the reason this is a puzzle is this. When the trolley driver throws the switch, the trolley driver thereby avoids killing 5, but kills 1 instead. And when the super surgeon makes the switch of organs, it looks like the super surgeon thereby avoids killing 5, but kills 1 instead. And in this video, we'll look at a proposed solution to this puzzle from Philippa Foot, and then what Judith Thompson thinks is wrong with that proposal. So first, Foot's proposal. Foot says there's actually 2 principles at play. One is this. Killing 1 is worse than letting 5 die. So Foot is drawing a distinction between killing on the one hand and letting people die on the other. You could think of it like this. If there's someone in a hospital right now who's going to die without an organ transplant, and you decide not to donate, say, one of your kidneys, which you can donate and still live perfectly well, you're in some sense letting that person die. But you're not killing that person in any ordinary sense. Killing requires some kind of active participation in making the death happen. And then the second principle is this. Killing 5 is worse than killing 1. And again, if you look at these principles, they seem pretty intuitive. It does seem right that just letting someone die, even if it's a bunch of people, is not as bad as actually actively killing somebody. There's probably 5 people in the world right now who could use organ transplants. And by not donating your organs, you're in some sense letting them die. But you're not killing anybody. It seems like it would be a lot worse for you to go in and kill somebody, like suffocate someone in their hospital bed. And it also seems true that killing 5 is worse than killing 1. If you're, all of the things being equal, assuming that people have equal value, killing 5 is worse than killing 1. And now Foot is going to try and characterize the choices that the surgeon and the trolley driver are making in terms of these principles, such that it comes out morally permissible for the trolley driver to switch tracks, but not morally permissible for the super surgeon to switch organs. So here's what Foot says. The super surgeon chooses between killing 1 and letting 5 die. If the 5 people in need of organ transplants die, that's just the surgeon letting them die. It's not the surgeon actively killing them. But if the surgeon harvests the organs from the healthy patient, that's the surgeon actively killing the healthy patient. So this is the surgeon's choice between killing 1 and letting 5 die. And if you look up here at our principles, it says killing 1 is worse than letting 5 die. So it's worse for the surgeon to kill the 1 and save the 5. And so it's morally impermissible for the surgeon to harvest the organs. Now look at the next case. The trolley driver chooses between killing 1 and killing 5. Well, why is that? The idea goes, and I don't find this especially intuitive, but just try and get into Foot's headspace. The reason I don't find it intuitive is it doesn't seem to me the trolley driver's killing people either way. The trolley driver just happens to be in the car, which is careening at out of control speeds. But at any rate, the trolley driver is choosing between killing 1 and killing 5 is Foot's idea. If the trolley driver smashes into the 5, that's the trolley driver actively participating in their deaths. That's the trolley driver killing them. If the trolley driver smashes into the 1, that's the trolley driver actively participating in the 1's death. That's the trolley driver killing that person. So the trolley driver is choosing between killing 1 and killing 5, says Foot. And by this second principle here, killing 5 is worse than killing 1. So it's morally permissible to switch the tracks and kill the 1 instead of killing the 5. So the idea goes, if we adopt these 2 principles, 1 and 2, that killing 1 is worse than letting 5 die and that killing 5 is worse than killing 1, then we can explain why it is that the trolley driver is permitted to switch the tracks, but the surgeon is not permitted to switch the organs. The surgeon is not permitted to switch the organs because the surgeon is making a choice between killing 1 and letting 5 die, and killing 1 is worse. The trolley driver is permitted to switch the tracks because the trolley driver is making a choice between killing 5 and killing 1, and killing 5 is worse. So the solution is, by principle 1, and the way of describing the case, which is labeled 3 here, the super surgeon shouldn't switch the organs. And by principle 2, and the way of describing the case, which is 4 here, the trolley driver should switch the tracks. Now, I already find this problematic because it's not clear to me it's sensible to say the trolley driver is choosing between killing 1 and killing 5. One way you could kind of push the line and make yourself more comfortable with that is to somehow imagine that somehow the trolley driver is responsible for the fact that the trolley is careening out of control. Like maybe the trolley driver, broke the brake because of some stupid decision, like stomping on it in anger or something. So either way, in that case, it's kind of natural to say the trolley driver will be killing whoever the trolley driver crashes into. And then you'd say, well, the trolley driver is choosing between killing 1 and killing 5. So it looks like maybe Foote's solution is a good solution. Okay? And what Thompson's going to say now is that even given that supposition, that the trolley driver really is choosing between killing 1 and killing 5, perhaps because the trolley driver is responsible for the train careening out of control, it's still the case that Foote's solution doesn't work. Foote's solution doesn't help. So she's going to do that by introducing what you might call the new trolley problem. It will focus on a difference between a modified version of the trolley driver case and a modified version of the super surgeon case. Okay, so here's the modified version of the trolley case. You have a bystander who happens across a switch. The bystander is in no way, shape, or form responsible for the fact that the trolley is careening out of control. Let's say the driver has passed out, so the driver can't actually make the decision to pull the switch or not. The bystander is like a hiker who just happened to cross the switch. And now the bystander understands the situation maybe before the trolley driver passed out. She yelled like, if you pull that switch, it'll switch the tracks. And so the bystander fully understands the situation. And the question is it morally permissible for the bystander to pull the switch? So this bystander thinks, oh, the brake is broken and the driver is passed out. If I don't do anything, these 5 will die for sure. If I pull the switch, I'll kill the 1. What should I do? And the idea here is that the bystander is choosing between letting these 5 die by doing nothing and actively killing this 1 by performing an action. And nonetheless, despite the fact that the bystander is choosing between letting 5 die and killing 1, it looks like the bystander is morally permitted to pull the switch. Now let's look at the sloppy surgeon case. This is the sloppy surgeon, but let's suppose that it's a once sloppy surgeon and now super surgeon. So because the surgeon is now a super surgeon, she knows with as much certainty as one can know anything that if she harvests this patient's organs and redistributes them, she'll save these 5. But because she was once sloppy, she's in fact responsible for all of these people needing organs. So maybe this person came in for a heart procedure that 999,999 times out of a million goes perfectly smoothly, but because she was drunk, she made some awful mistakes and damaged this person's heart beyond repair, and now the person is in need of a heart transplant, and let's suppose the same goes for all of these cases. Now, the sloppy surgeon thinks the following: it's my fault that these people need organs. Accordingly, if I don't get them organs, I will have killed them. And that seems plausible. If the sloppy surgeon's past behavior led to the fact that this guy needed a heart, he would have been perfectly fine if not for the sloppy surgeon's reckless behavior. Then if this person dies, it's reasonable to say the sloppy surgeon killed this person. So the surgeon thinks, I'll have killed these people if they die. I could keep from killing them, that is, I could save them, by killing this healthy patient over there and harvesting her organs. So what should I do? And here's Thompson's idea. Intuitively, even though the surgeon is choosing between killing 5 and killing 1, it's still impermissible to kill the 1 to save the 5. So looking back at this case here, the idea is this bystander is choosing between letting 5 die and killing 1, and we all agree that even though the choice is between letting 5 die and killing 1, it's still morally permissible to pull the switch. So in this case, killing 1 is, in some sense, better than letting 5 die. And that counters Foote's claim. So here's the lesson. By pulling the switch, the bystander would kill 1, and by not pulling the switch, the bystander would let 5 die. The bystander is permitted to pull the switch. Therefore, sometimes it's morally permissible to kill 1 rather than let 5 die. Now, I'm not fully on board with Thompson's idea here that by pulling the switch, the bystander would kill the 1. I understand the intuition. The intuition is if the bystander does nothing, and since the bystander hasn't created the situation, if the bystander does nothing, it's not killing anybody. It's just letting people die. So the idea is if the bystander does nothing and lets the 5 die, that's letting people die. That makes sense to me. But the idea that pulling the switch amounts to killing the 1, that's not so clear to me. But let's just suppose we're on board with that. The intuition is there that by pulling the switch, the bystander actively intervenes in the situation. You can imagine the spouse of this person here when the bystander says, like, I'm sorry, I pulled the switch to save these 5, you can imagine the spouse of this person would be like, you killed my wife, like, it's your fault. And, you can kind of get the intuition. So let's just say Thompson is right, that it's a choice between letting 5 die and killing 1. Intuitively, it's morally permissible to kill the 1 rather than let the 5 die. So Foote's principle, which says the reason it's okay to pull the switch is because you're choosing between killing 1 and killing 5, and killing 5 is worse than killing 1, doesn't capture this case. So thesis 1 holds that killing 1 is worse than letting 5 die, but in this case, thesis 1 is false. In this case, killing 1 is morally permissible, even though you're choosing between killing 1 and letting 5 die. So Foote's solution to the trolley problem requires that principle, so the solution fails. Now, here's another way to see the point. If 1 is true, then it isn't permissible for the bystander to pull the switch, but it is permissible for the bystander to pull the switch, so thesis 1 is false. Foote's solution to the trolley problem requires that thesis, so Foote's solution fails. Now, the sloppy surgeon case is going to make the same general point. You have your sloppy surgeon, and it's going to be her fault if these 5 people die, so she's choosing between killing 5 and killing 1. And she thinks, I could keep from killing these 5 by killing that 1. What should I do? Well, most people say it's impermissible to make the switch. So it's morally impermissible for the surgeon to kill the 1 to avoid killing the 5. Well, you can see how this will play out in relation to Foote's solution. By switching the organs, the surgeon would kill 1. By not switching the organs, the surgeon would kill 5, but the surgeon isn't morally permitted to switch the organs, so sometimes it's not permissible to kill 1 rather than 5. Thesis 2 holds that killing 5 is worse than killing 1, and that explains why it is we react the way we do to the surgeon case, to the trolley driver case. So thesis 2 is false. Foote's solution requires thesis 2, so Foote's solution fails. And we can put this another way. We can say if thesis 2 is true, then it's permissible for the surgeon to make the switch. That is, if killing 1 is always better than killing 5, then the surgeon should make the switch, or it's at least permissible. It's not permissible, so thesis 2 is false. Foote's solution requires that thesis, so Foote's solution fails. Thompson doesn't endorse either form of this argument. She thinks that, as per 2, killing 5 is worse than killing 1, but she thinks the surgeon should kill the 5 nevertheless. So Thompson says, look, killing 5 is worse than killing 1, but still what you ought to do in this situation is kill the 5. Now, why is that? How could it be that you ought to do something that in some sense is worse? She says that what's better and worse doesn't necessarily determine what's morally permissible. So in sum, in the bystander of the switch case, you learn that Foote's first thesis is false. In the sloppy surgeon case, you learn that Foote's second thesis is false. And this brings us to the new trolley problem. The new trolley problem is explaining why it is that the bystander is permitted to switch the tracks, but the surgeon isn't permitted to switch the organs, even though the bystander is choosing between killing 1 and letting 5 die, and the surgeon is choosing between killing 5 and killing 1. And we'll continue next time by looking at first a solution that some people have proposed that Thompson rejects, and then starting down the path towards her solution.